First item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is public comment. Commission requests the comments be limited to a maximum number of 5 minutes per person. Tonight we have Ms. Mary Snipes. Welcome.
5 minutes in there, huh? How you guys
I
doing?
did say something tonight. I know you had free range of it last time, and that was all good stuff. So,
How you guys doing?
good to see
How
you.
are you?
Good, Ms. Snipes. How are you?
Might pull that microphone towards you just a little bit, if you would, please. Perfect. Thank you.
That good? All right. Okay. So I am here today to talk about June, even though it may seem so far away, but it is zooming right close up on us. And June is National Gun Violence Awareness Month. And of course, most of you know why I am so strongly on gun violence right now, have been for quite a few months. And Moms Demand Action for Gun Violence, Gun Sense in America is a member of that coalition and asks its local group to celebrate by wearing the color orange to honor Hadiya Pennington, a victim of gun violence. Orange is a color that hunters wear when they go hunting, and of course I mentioned that when I was here before. Orange is a color that Hadiya Pennington's friends wore in her honor when she was shot and killed in Chicago at the age of 15, just 1 week after she performed at President Obama's second inauguration parade in 2013. After her death, her family friends asked to stand up, speak up, and wear orange to raise awareness about gun violence. Moms Demand Action, wear orange, use rallies, and the illumination of local landmarks to stand up, speak out, and wear orange to reduce gun violence, with emphasis on the effect of gun violence on children. As a mother, a parent, a wife, a sister, an aunt, a friend, a constituent of Junction City, and now a gun violence survivor, I am asking that our city honor those who have transitioned or lost their lives due to gun violence or any senseless acts of violence, which may be domestic violence, suicide, accidental, or whatever. We should show awareness to our community, families, citizens, visitors, schools, surrounding communities, and even ourselves, because this is not a situation or occurrence that should be swept under the rug. I am coordinating with Moms Demand Actions group in Manhattan with this as well. I ask you, what landmark should we have lit up here in Junction City, or a wreath with orange lights, so we can show our community that we can show awareness for gun violence, for individuals that have lost their lives due to gun violence or any senseless acts of violence. And also in June, I am preparing to also do a presentation on awareness and having different organizations to participate, as well as moms. We have had, from my understanding, over 30 individuals that have contacted the state moms department that want to have a moms here in Junction City immediately.
Should be able to figure out something in one of the parks. We
Yeah.
could do something,
Yeah.
work with Ray and see what we can, we'll work on that. Okay?
Okay. All right.
Thank you for
Thank you,
coming
Ms.
down.
Snipes.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
No further public comment. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there any questions for staff?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is public hearing to receive public comment on the Neighborhood Revitalization Program. At this time, we will open the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, real quickly, and Commissioners, basically is to extend our mover program forward for another 5 years. Same as last time, except delete all the land bank lots and put back in the lots on Wolf Creek and then in 14th Street Commons, the center portion there.
Is there any public comment? Going once, going twice? We will close the public hearing.
I'll now make contact with the county and the school district and then bring back a resolution here.
Thank you. We have two special presentations. Is there anyone here tonight for the March for Meals? Proclamation proclaiming March 2019 as the 17th Annual March for Meals Month. Whereas on March 22, 1972, President Richard Nixon signed into law a measure that amended the Older Americans Act of 1965 and established a national nutrition program for seniors 60 years and older. And whereas Meals on Wheels America established the March for Meals campaign in March 2002 to recognize the historic month, the importance of the Older Americans Act nutrition programs, both congregate and home delivered, and raise awareness about the escalating problem of senior hunger in America. And whereas the 2019 observance of March for Meals celebrates 17 years of providing an opportunity to support Meals on Wheels programs that deliver vital and critical services for donating, volunteering, and raising awareness about senior hunger and isolation. And whereas Meals on Wheels programs both congregate and home delivered in Kansas, Meals on Wheels have served our communities admirably for over 40 years in Kansas and 30 years in Junction City. And whereas volunteers for Meals on Wheels programs in Kansas are the backbone of the program, and they not only deliver nutritious meals to seniors and individuals with disabilities who are at significant risk of hunger and isolation, but also caring concern and attention to their welfare. And whereas Meals on Wheels programs in Kansas provide nutritious meals to seniors throughout the state to help them maintain their health and independence, thereby preventing unnecessary falls, hospitalizations, and/or premature institutionalization. And whereas Meals on Wheels programs in Kansas provide a powerful socialization opportunity for millions of seniors to help combat loneliness and isolation. And whereas Meals on Wheels programs in Kansas deserve recognition for their contributions they have made and will continue to make in the local communities, our state, and our nation. Now, therefore, I, Pat Landis, Mayor of Junction City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim March 2019 as the 17th Annual March for Meals Month and urge every citizen to take this month to honor our Meals on Wheels programs, the seniors they serve, and the volunteers who care for them. Our recognition and involvement in the National 2019 March for Meals can enrich our entire community and help combat senior hunger and isolation. Tremendous program. Anyone here for the Week for the Young Child? Proclamation, Week for the Young Child. Whereas the Kansas Association of Education for Young Children and other local organizations in conjunction with the National Association for the Education of Young Children are celebrating the Week of the Young Child in April. And whereas the first years of a child's life are the period of most rapid brain development and lay the foundation for all future learning, and whereas 69% of children in our state of all available parents in their workforce, and whereas high-quality early childhood education depends on high-quality early childhood educators who ensure that children supported by families have the early experiences they need for a strong foundation. And whereas young children need skilled, educated, competent, consistent, and compensated early childhood educators in developmentally appropriate, accessible, and available early care and education settings. And whereas working families need sufficient high-quality child care spaces beginning at birth to be available in the community. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Junction City does hereby proclaim April 9th through 16 of 2019 as the Week of the Young Child, and urge all members of our community to support efforts that increase children and families' access to high-quality early childhood education. Very well. Congratulations.
Hi, my name is Bernie Howe, and I am the president-elect of the Kansas Association for the Education of Young Children. We are the state affiliate of the National Association for the Education of Young Children. And on behalf of our organization, I would like to thank the City of Junction City for recognizing the importance of early childhood and those who make the difference in the lives of young children. There is a large national effort to bring awareness to the importance of early childhood programs from birth through the age of 8. And we encourage anyone with an invested interest in early childhood, which I believe is everybody, to reach out on local, state, and national levels to increase awareness and to encourage funding of high-quality programming for all children. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Section is new business. Consideration of the final plat of the Orchlands addition to replat of Lot 1, Block 1, Chestington Addition Number 2.
Mayor Landis, Commissioners, been a while since I've been up here, but
Welcome back.
thank you. This is the request of Chad Carter and 21 Design Group on behalf of Orchlands Farm and Home. The new store that was built on Washington, we'll call it Washington Street anyway. The very north end of that property has about a half an acre that they want to split off, and we could have done this with just an administrative lot split, but in an effort to kind of clean up the legal description, I suggested that we go ahead and replat that into 2 new lots, the existing store and then that half-acre lot. They felt that was appropriate as well. They do have a couple of people that have already contacted them with an interest to purchase that. This was really a simple thing. All of the utilities are already in place. All we have to do is get the survey finished up and get the signature blocks on the Mylar and get it recorded. Shouldn't be any big deal.
That's a great area for development, and the Orchland store is fantastic. It's
Yeah,
great.
for those of you that haven't been in it, you need to get in there and see it. It's really
Very
it's a
well done.
fantastic facility. Yeah.
And 2 access points with Washington and Chestnut. It's really great.
Yeah, and this lot would utilize that access point off of Chestnut. They've already got a drive entrance to that particular spot, so no other entrances would be needed. So
Any questions for Mr. Livingston?
Nope.
Motion?
I make a motion that the PCI addition to the City of Junction City, Gary County, Kansas be approved. The mayor and the city clerk be authorized to sign the plat accepting the dedications thereof.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next item is consideration of ordinance S 3207, a request for a special use permit to allow a mobile food kitchen to be parked in the RD duplex residential district.
all right, zoning was approached by Sabrina Fry, agent on behalf of owner Peter Adams at 2514 Deer Trail. Her and her husband rent this property. He is now deployed, soldier with Fort Riley. She has, I hesitate to call it a food truck because it's not a traditional food truck. It's a mobile kitchen, basically. And what she does is prepare healthy meals and meal kits to sell to customers. She works at JC CrossFit, and about 80% of her clientele are at JC CrossFit. Healthy alternative to the normal things that we prepare ourselves, and if we don't have time to prepare meals, this would be an alternative. She suggested that it's been inspected by the state and licensed by the state. She's met all those requirements. What she would like to do, because the trailer is so unwieldy and too large for her to handle to move, that she be allowed to leave it parked in her driveway to prepare her meals. My difficulty with this is it's in a residential neighborhood in the Doc Hargraves area. There's only one ingress egress point up there. There's small children that play in there frequently. I'm afraid that the customers would just create too much of a traffic nightmare, to be honest. That was my major concern. We took this to the Planning Commission on the 14th of February. They love the idea of the food truck and the meal kits. They recommended that we approve this with the condition that she not be allowed to have customers visit her on site. She would have to take those meals to JC CrossFit to deliver to her clientele. I guess I wouldn't have a problem with that. I just don't want to see her have clients show up in the residential neighborhood. So.
And you know it's going to happen.
It's going to happen, invariably.
Somebody can't get over to there to the building and.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Yes.
So I think JC CrossFit has already told her that she's more than welcome to park it on their property as an actual food truck to utilize and do, and I think that would probably be a better approach. So.
To me, I think that's what the stipulation needs to be. I don't think, I mean, well, this is Pandora's box. You allow this in the residential area, you open the door to so many other problems.
I agree.
So,
I agree. Okay.
I make a motion that case number SUP 020119 concerning the request of Sabrina Fry, agent seeking a special use permit to allow food trailer in the RD residential district not be allowed.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment? So we need to do a roll call vote, correct?
No.
We don't need to?
Only if you adopt the ordinance, you'd have to.
Yes, we didn't even need a motion then, did we? We could have just let it die?
I think in the case of planning and zoning stuff, I also believe that you deny it. You have three options: deny, which would done by motion,
Right.
or return it back for further study to the
Yeah,
planning commission.
you could have tabled it, sent it back to the Planning
So we'll
Commission.
just continue with the denial, have a vote, that'll be
I
that.
think deny was fine, yes.
Okay. Is there any further discussion or comment? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is C, consider the request to solicit bids for the demolition of the property located at 220 East 12th Street.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners,
Chief?
it's my first act as Codes Administrator. The issue in front of you is 220 East 12th Street. On September 18th, 2018, the Commission approved Resolution 2859, setting a public hearing date to address the condemnation of the property at 220 East 12th Street. And Resolution 2859 was sent to the property owner and put into the Daily Union. On November 6th, the City Commission held a public hearing to approve Resolution 2877, giving the property owner 120 days to remove or repair the structure. This was published in the Daily Union and sent to the owner of record. At this point, the owner has failed to do any repairs or remove the structure, and staff is requesting to solicit bids for removal of this structure. No work at all has been done on this structure.
Looks like it did last.
Yes, ma'am. There is no power to the structure, and some of the other utilities have been disconnected.
I make a motion to solicit bids for the demolition of the property at 220 East 12th Street, being a condemned structure.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment? I have one comment, as I have asked for this on numerous occasions, that these photographs be included in our packet. They should be available not to just to the commissioner, they should be available to everyone. So these should be part of our,
From here out, sir, that will happen.
so,
I know I drove and looked at all of them.
any further discussion or comment? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is consider the request to solicit bids for the demolition of the property located at 135 West 11th Street. Chief?
Mayor, Commissioners, on September 18th, the Commission approved Resolution 2858, setting a public hearing date to address the condemnation of this property, 135 West 11th Street. The Resolution 2858 was sent to the property owner and published in the Daily Union. On November 6th, the City Commission held a public hearing with Resolution 2876, giving the property owner 120 days to repair or remove the structure. Resolution 2876 was sent to the property owner and recorded and was published in the Daily Union. This property also, the owner has failed to do the repairs.
Is it empty?
Ma'am?
It's empty?
It's empty.
Any contact with the owner?
There is no contact with the owners, and I believe this was one of the property. We did get a return receipt on the notice, so they did receive notice, and we have no response.
Any further questions?
I make a motion, we approve the request to solicit bids for the demolition of the property located at 135 West 11th.
I'll second it.
So moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item, consider the request to solicit bids for the demolition of the property located at 1105 North Adams Street. Chief?
Mayor, Commissioners, on September 18th, the City Commission approved Resolution 2860, setting a public hearing date to address the condemnation of this property, 1105 North Adams Street. Resolution 2860 was sent to the property owner and published in the Daily Union. On November 6, 2018, the City Commission held a public hearing and approved Resolution 2879, giving the owner 120 days to remove the structure. Documentation was sent to the property owner and published in the Daily Union, and this property owner also has failed to do any improvements.
It's another empty structure.
Another empty structure, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the request to solicit bids for the demolition of property located at 135 West 11th Street.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item, consider the request to authorize the mayor to sign a letter to the Kansas Department of Commerce resolving conditions regarding the 2019 Community Development Grant.
Mayor Landers and Commissioners, last fall when the city was applying for the community block grant that we received for the Spring Valley project, we had two public hearings. Remember, we had the public hearing and then we had to make a slight change because the first one included sidewalks. At the very end, Deb Oldie, who was writing the grant for us, says, no, sidewalks could not be included as part of a street project. So we had a second public hearing to meet all the thing. We had no comments, as you remember, either one. The Commerce did receive a letter after that point from a resident, a rural resident west on Liberty Hall Road. We have to, one of our conditions, we have to respond back. Our grant administrator, Justine Benoit from the Northwest Kansas Planning Development Commission, feels that since no comments were made a public comment, they don't count, and also they were made after the date. And so we're going to, she's recommending we have the mayor sign that we've done that, and we'll see where the department goes with that.
Any questions
have-
for staff? Sorry.
You have addressed the gentleman who wrote the letter, haven't you? Or
Yeah,
made
we
contact?
yeah, but you know, I don't think I'm sure you like the answers, but the point is that, and I've kept the letter, you know, and now if we have to do more, then the letter will become public. And the complaints basically was we annexed along Spring Valley Road a few years ago, and he's afraid he's going to be annexed down the road, and we don't do enough with roads, and we shouldn't be doing that one. We should do other roads instead, and so.
Any further questions?
I make a motion, we approve the request to authorize the mayor to sign a letter to the Kansas Department of Commerce resolving conditions regarding the 2019 Community Development Block Grant.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item, consideration of the agreement for the State of Kansas Department of Commerce for the Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program.
Mayor Landis and Commissioners, again, going back to the block grant there. As you know, we were awarded a block grant in the amount of $425,000 for the Spring Valley project. The estimated project cost is $814,855, and the city is going to come up with $389,855. Now, if you remember from last fall, when we pulled the sidewalks out, we were going to do a 50-50 match, 425 for an $850,000 project. Working with our engineer, we found out what the sidewalk piece was. We pulled that out, and so in the case of the grant, we're not a 50-50 match. We were 46 something to 50, or 48 to 52%, which we lost a point or two, which dropped us in third place rather than second, but they funded the first 9, so nobody really cares. The plans, of course, is after the project's done, and we then put sidewalks in there, because I think we want to match sidewalks like they do all the way up Spring Valley to the road, up where I live. Another issue that we may have to talk about sometime that I haven't even talked about, and since I'm doing my Walk Kansas now, is that we need to light that up also. We don't have street lights there now. So as we want to promote safe pathways, that'll have to be extended as well. Something I didn't even talk about until this morning when it was really dark out there. But we'll address that. But this basically says we'll accept the grant, we'll follow all the conditions, that gives the mayor the authority to sign everything.
We're going to wear one of those little flashlights on your head.
Yeah, I know, it's you need a flashlight.
Yeah, but, okay, I get along a little better than maybe an 8-year-old.
Okay.
Not much.
Pretty soon it'll be lighter outside
Yeah.
earlier.
Make a motion, we approve for the mayor to sign the agreement with the State of Kansas Department of Commerce for the Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is consideration to declare 2005 Lincoln Aviator as surplus property to be sold at auction and transfer a 2007 Chevy Impala to the Parks and Rec Department.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, the Police Department seeks approval to declare a 2005 Lincoln Aviator as surplus property and to approve the sale of the vehicle by auction. The 2005 Lincoln Aviator was acquired through asset forfeiture. Approval is sought to also transfer a 2007 Chevrolet Impala to the Parks and Rec Department. This vehicle was purchased from the general fund. There should be additional income from the state for the sale of the Lincoln Aviator. Any proceeds from the sale would be deposited in the Special Law Enforcement Fund. There is no charge to the city of Junction City by the auction company to list the item for sale. There's no impact on the budget to transfer the 2007 Chevrolet Impala to another department. Staff recommends the declaration of the 2005 Lincoln Aviator as surplus property and approval of the sale of the vehicle by auction. We also recommend the transfer of the 2007 Chevrolet Impala to the Parks and Rec Department. Glad to answer any questions.
Why does the Parks and Rec Department need this?
We're requesting this vehicle for the golf course, for them to make the daily transfers of information. Golf course here. Right now, they just have an old pickup truck that we got from Chief Brown years ago that the maintenance staff uses. And this will give actually the clubhouse staff a car that they can use instead of using their own personal vehicles and saving us from using the maintenance.
Thank you for the explanation. Appreciate that. Any questions for Chief? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to recommend, for the declaration of the 2005 Lincoln Aviator as surplus property and approval of the sale of the vehicle by auction and the transfer of the 2007 Chevy Impala to the Parks and Recreation Department.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item, consideration to purchase one 2019 Chevrolet Tahoe and one 2019 Chevrolet Impala in the amount of $59,107 from Jim Clark Chevrolet. Chief Reese.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, the Police Department seeks approval to purchase one 2019 Chevrolet four-wheel drive Tahoe. This vehicle will replace one 2016 Chevy Tahoe four-wheel drive vehicle with approximately 73,000 miles on it. The current vehicle will then move to become the travel vehicle for going back and forth to the State Police Academy. The Police Department also seeks approval to purchase one 2019 midsize vehicle sedan. This vehicle will replace one 2012 Chevy Tahoe two-wheel drive vehicle with approximately 82,000 miles. The new vehicle will then move to become an SRO vehicle, and the old one will become vehicles for officers to take out of town to state training and things like that. On January 9th, 2019, the Junction City Police Department released a request for bid for one 2019 Chevy Tahoe and one midsize sedan. The request for bid was placed on the city website and in the Daily Union on January 9th. The bid opening was scheduled for February 13th at 3 p.m. On that date and time, the following bid was received. Jim Clark, Chevrolet, Junction City, Kansas, $36,590 for a 2019 Chevy Tahoe, and 2019 midsize sedan, Jim Clark Chevrolet, 2019 Chevrolet Impala, $22,517, and Dick Edwards, Junction City, for a 2019 Dodge Charger, $25,639. A review of the bids identified the bid specifications were met and set forth in the bid process. This vehicle will be purchased with asset forfeiture funds having no impact on the budget. Staff recommends the purchase of one 2019 Chevy four-wheel drive Tahoe and one 2019 Chevy Impala from Jim Clark Chevrolet in the amount of $59,107. Be glad to answer any questions that I may.
I saw on the bid sheet that the Charger bid from Dick Edwards, that vehicle was all-wheel drive. Is the Impala also all-wheel drive to help them get around during crazy winters like this?
I do not know.
It's probably just front-wheel drive. I don't think they may have gone all-wheel drive Impala. I don't
Okay.
believe.
Whatever the specs we put in for,
Saw
They
that
were
they all
met.
were met. I didn't know if that was a bonus or something that you had considered.
Any further questions?
Make a motion to approve the purchase of one 2019 Chevy Tahoe and one 2019 Chevy Impala in the amount of $59,107 from Jim Clark Chevrolet.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is consideration to purchase one 2019 Dodge Charger in the amount of $24,673 from Dick Edwards Auto Plaza.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, the Police Department seeks approval to purchase one 2019 Dodge Charger. This vehicle will replace one 2016 Dodge Charger all-wheel drive vehicle with approximately 48,000 miles at this time. The current vehicle will move to become an SRO vehicle, and this new one will become the new K-9 vehicle. On January 24th, 2019, the Junction City Police Department released a request for bid for one 2019 midsize vehicle sedan. The request for bid was placed on the city website and in the Daily Union on January 24th. The bid opening was scheduled for February 20th, 2019 at 3 p.m. On that date and time, the following bid was received. Dick Edwards, Junction City, 2019 Dodge Charger, $24,673. A review of the bids identified the bid specifications were met as set forth in the bid process. The vehicle would be purchased with asset forfeiture funds having no impact on the budget. Staff recommends the purchase of one 2019. I think we got an error here. It says on my sheet, Jim Clark Chevrolet, but I don't think they bid on this, so it would be Dick Edwards in the amount of $24,673.
That's currently what your K-9 officer uses anyway, right, is the Dodge Charger?
Pardon me?
That's what your K-9 officer currently uses
Yes.
anyway?
K-9 officers in a Dodge Charger right now, and all the equipment, cages and everything else is set up for that.
Set up for that.
And so I'm sure that's why nobody
Probably
else could have
exclusive
met that.
bid.
Yes.
I had a question. So how many SROs do you have?
Right at the current time, we have 3 SROs. Eddie Torres works in the high school. Jeremiah Ruffin, who works in the / middle school and Freshman Success Academy. It goes back and forth. Jay Wigden, who is a DARE officer, and he fills in at times at one of either FSA or the middle school. We came before the commission last summer to increase 2 SROs, and so they will be working. One of them was slated to be a roving at the elementary schools, and one for each the FSA high school and middle school, which would have made, and a DARE officer, which would make it 5. So with these additional cars, when I know I'm bringing one on in August, and they will need a car. And so I have 2 slated by budget, and if both of them come on, I need cars for them to get back and forth from wherever they're going.
Would you need one per school or one per officer?
1 per officer, because they travel back and forth wherever they're going. And some of them go right now between schools.
But you'll have 2 at the new high school then, eventually?
Right now, that kind of threw a monkey wrench last week when I found out that the FSA is going to be moving in August. And so will I need that 5th SRO? Not sure right now. But the plan was in talks a year ago that when the new high school was built, they wanted 2 SROs out there because of the size of the school. So how we're going to do it at the high school this year, I think we're still only going to have 1 come August, because I'm not going to have 2 to be able to come on board.
I guess that was my question. If you're going to have 2 at one school, why do they both need a car? That was my question. So.
Well, when we get to that point, maybe a year from now, we'll have to decide. If 2 are going to one school, then I wouldn't need 2 cars.
Right. Thank you. Any questions for Chief?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of one 2019 Dodge Charger in the amount of $24,673 from Dick Edwards Auto Plaza.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment? All in favor of the motion respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Chief.
Next item is consider the request to sign the 2019 Annual Operation and Maintenance Assurance Statement.
Evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Several years ago, the city received federal land and water conservation funding to develop 4 properties in Junction City, the walking trail at Homer's Pond, North Park, South Park, and of course, Rolling Meadows Golf Course. Every year, they ask for us to actually have the mayor sign our annual maintenance and operations assurance statement, and I've attached that in there. What it is, it's basically saying that without their approval, we'll really make no modifications. We'll keep the facilities open, regular hours, and make the reasonable repairs. They do this annually on this statement, but they do come out and actually physically inspect us every 5 years. And for the 5 years I've been through it, we've done fine. So we're just looking for the mayor to sign this statement so we can stay in compliance.
Questions? Is there a motion?
I make a motion for the approval of this item, authorizing the mayor to sign the 2019 Annual Operation and Maintenance Assurance Statement.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next item, consider the request to exchange federal funds under the Federal Aid Exchange Master Agreement.
Mayor and Commissioners, annual thing, we are eligible for funds from the U.S. or the federal government in the amount of $265,833.21. However, if you do it through a federal project, which we could do, you have to meet a lot of requirements. So KDOT, Kansas Department of Transportation, offers them, we can exchange the money for 90%, and this year it's 90%. It was 90%, last year it dropped to 75% because a former governor wanted to save some money, and last year Governor Collier, when he became governor, moved it back to the 90% this year. So we'll receive $239,249.89 that'll be used for transportation projects. In the last few years, we've used that money to pay for our share of the walking trails. When we did the first walking trail from Rucker to Highway 77, it was anticipated to use our special highway money, but when I got here, I found that you can't use special highway money for a walking trail, only 10% of your year. So the federal funding exchange has been used to enhance projects. Some of that we had banked up early, and that's some of the federal exchange money has been used to do Golden Belt. Yeah, Golden Belt, okay. And so we've used that money to enhance our programs, and that's what we've done now. Any identify one? No, I think it just enhances all of our traffic programs. We have the other walking trail that's going to be completed later this year. Gets bid in May, I believe. Yeah, the walking trail from 8th and Rucker all the way down to Eisenhower and then south through the park and then across to Homer. So that's where the funds are used. This is probably the best way to use that money from the federal government is you have to exchange the funds. You lose 10%, at least not 25%. And that move by Governor Colley last year means that we get $39,874 more money than we would have under the 75%. Always a good thing to have money for programs in town.
Really?
And they consider walking trails and things we've done. It has to be transportation projects.
Any further questions for staff?
Make a motion, we approve the request to exchange federal funds under the Federal Aid Exchange Master Agreement.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is executive session for attorney-client privilege to discuss acquisition of real property.
10 minutes, please.
I move that the commission recess for an executive session to include the city attorney and city manager for 10 minutes at 7:41 PM for attorney-client privilege to discuss acquisition of real property. The justification for the executive session is provided by KSA 75-4319B6. The open meeting is to resume in this room at 7:51.
Second.
All in favor of the motion respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Go nuts.
Make a motion, we re-adjourn from executive session where no decisions were made,
No actions were
and
taken.
no actions were taken.
For a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor and Commission, I have proposed here Resolution R 2891. It deals with seeking condemnation or the exercise of eminent domain over certain real property located at 1219 McFarland Road. With that, the commission passes that we're basically seeking for notice and survey, and then we'll be following that if this commission does pass it with an ordinance at the next meeting to take action depending on what the commission wants to do with that.
And just so everybody knows, this is for the Homer Pond project. As we well know, Homer Pond was ruled as a high-risk dam before I got here, probably 2013 or 14. We have to do approximately $500,000 renovation on the dam so we meet KDA standards, which will not only keep it there, but it'll also go ahead and help us. It'll release it from, a lot of insurance companies have problems. They don't want to insure the city because we have a high-risk dam, even though I disagree all day long, but I'm not going to win that battle. And this land is needed as part of the construction area.
So we need a motion to.
Yeah, approve that resolution.
2891.
Make a motion, we approve Resolution R 2891, seeking condemnation of certain real property.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment? Since that wasn't an agenda item, we can still do that.
Yeah, the city commission take action on items as they come up. It was not going to be an agenda item just because it had to be discussed in executive session, which was right, but you can come out and address issues then.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item, commissioner comments. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Just got a couple of things. We had a Flint Hills Regional Council meeting on Friday here in Junction City, well attended by all from our partners in the area. I somehow know they managed to get elected or appointed to the executive committee, the Flint Hills Regional Council. So we did have a very interesting presentation by the appraiser from Riley County and from Potawatomi County concerning what's termed the dark store appraisal theory, which is becoming quite a common
Practice.
tool, if you will, to deny tax dollars to governmental entities through a process of tax appeal on appraised values using vacant properties as a comparables, and it's a long thing that I put out to you guys. I think I sent it to all you guys. So if anybody has a opportunity to look that up, I think it's for a governmental entity. It's quite a scary process. And Manhattan's seen a lot already. I think Hy-Vee, Menards, Academy Sports, all these are being, this theory is being used over, and it has to be over 40,000 square feet. And it's basically, in some instances, cutting appraised values up to 50%, which is a large dollar amount for any government entity to have to deal with. So that is an interesting thing that they put out. So I would urge you to take a look at that email that I had Alan send out. I attended today for the first time legislative committee meeting with the chamber. Mickey Finner-Odine, executive director of the chamber, Rick Jankovic was there, and they're going to form a legislative committee to deal with legislative issues interesting to our city, county, and the business is here in our area. And I was asked to be on that, and I agreed. And so we had our first meeting today. We don't really feel that there will be much, since we're so far into the legislative session this year, that we'll be able to do this year. But the idea is to get this on the ground so we can start dealing with it starting next year. So we're kind of, the initial idea was maybe meet 3 or 4 times a year to discuss these, involve our local representatives, and just thought that they don't want to have a presence with the legislature and be able to deal with that and make our opinion known, or our area's opinion known, as to legislative issues that are going on in Topeka. The Flint Hills Regional Conference is having their Flint Hills Regional Conference is occurring in Junction City, April 24th. That wasn't part of the email I sent out, and you guys, I think everybody, we may want to attend that. I think we're looking forward to a really exciting itinerary for it, so that'd be a great thing for all of us to go to if we have an opportunity. It is a fundraising thing for the Flint Hills Regional Conference, but also a good information comes out of it. Also, there was some information put out about a fair housing seminar 2019 going to occur at the fire station headquarters in Manhattan. And I'll give that to you guys to put out to the other commissioners. So that's an interesting thing, too, that's coming up. Nothing further, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Albritton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Had an animal shelter meeting last week. Had some coming in the month of April. We'll have some events to announce to the public, so everybody come out and give our local animal shelter some good notoriety and publicity for adoption and everything else. We also have a grant coming up, a grant announcement coming up as well. So hats off to the director, Vanessa Gray. She's doing a tremendous job and trying to get as much exposure to our animal shelter as she can. So we'll congratulate her on that aspect. Next thing I have is, so I'm scared to say this, but I believe spring is starting to come on out, and hopefully, I hope I don't jinx anything there. Hopefully, there's some light at the end of this tunnel. So everybody started getting back out. I'm excited about seeing the 5th Street Park finish, complete that renovation, and drive by there a lot. So I'm excited to get out there and enjoy that. Miss Snipes, always good to see you. Keep on keeping on fighting the good fight. So other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Fitzgerald? Oh, nothing? Nothing?
Actually, I have a whole page. No, thank you, Mayor.
Think our boat.
I'm the chair of the Military Affairs Council. We had our monthly meeting last week. The things that we discuss at these meetings is really how our communities and our military can interact with each other and see how we can support each other a little bit more. And that's back and forth. And also to continue to improve relationships and as well. And as we all know, well, Fort Riley also gives us an update at the MAC meetings as well, and they pretty much just let us know what's going on Fort Riley. And right now, we all know a lot of the fort is deployed. Several of the brigades are out of here. Division's got their big warfighter exercise coming up. So with that, and that's the first several weeks of April. So what that means is there'll be 400 or 500 or more folks from different military installations, whether it be military or contractors, that'll be here to support the command post exercise that the division will be doing. The other thing of interest too is even though all the soldiers, a lot of them are deployed, their families are still here, still in our, the kids are still going to school and they're still here in our communities. And also during the summertime, even though, again, the fort's got a lot deployed, there'll be as many as 25,000 National Guard soldiers that will be on Fort Riley doing their training. So there's still a lot of activity and all going on. Next Thursday, on the 28th, is the monthly Military Affairs Breakfast. It'll be at the Gary County Convention Visitors Bureau at the Marriott at the Convention Center. Rick Dykstra from the CVB will be the guest speaker, and he will be giving us a great briefing on all the outdoor activities that are in our area here, Gary County, Junction City area. So should be a good presentation. At the end of the month, March the 29th at King Fieldhouse at 10 o'clock is the annual post or the monthly post military retirement. So it's our opportunity to see the soldiers or congratulate them for retiring, and then also make note of how many of them choose to stay here in our Junction City, Gary County. And as I noted out last month, out of the 13 soldiers that retired, I think it was 5 or 6 that chose to stick around in the Flint Hills region. So we're always grateful for that. The next item I'd like to just mention is that March is Women's History Month. The theme this year is Visionary Women, Champions of Peace and Nonviolence. So the History Month for Women is honoring women who have led efforts to end war, violence, injustice, and have pioneered the use of nonviolence to change society. I'd just like to do a shout out to women, to all the women for your sacrifices and all that you do for others and for being role models. So this month of March is definitely the Women's History Month. I also like to say congratulations to the recent recipients of the Crime Stopper Awards. We have quite a few of those in our Junction City Police Department, Gary County Sheriff's Department, the corrections dispatchers. So congratulations to all of them. And I would also like to do a shout out to all the volunteers that faithfully every Saturday, whether I'm there or not, will come out and do our Saturday cleanup project that I've had established for about 5 years now. And Mayor, that's about all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
I'll be brief.
Famous last words.
Glad that the weather is turning. We're finally seeing some progress on the Raythert Turf project. I'm looking forward to seeing more progress on our other park projects as well as the sidewalks in the community. Brigade Baseball will be releasing its schedule here hopefully next week. That'll be finalized and get that out there. So a great thing going on in the summer. And then I might have mentioned it before, and I'll probably mention it again. The the State of Kansas Young Professional Summit is being hosted here in Junction May 10th. The registration is open. The sponsorships are available. Our keynote speaker is Eric Malin. He is a 2013 World Air Guitar Champion, and he uses that platform to discuss creative problem solving and dynamic team building. So we're looking forward to his speech. So
Playing air guitar.
that's it.
Thank you. We had an EDC meeting last week. One of the main things from the EDC meeting was funds are being put together to overhaul the economic development website. Monies were paid for a service for a few years ago, a lot of which came from the Junction City First Investment Group, and we don't feel like we've really gotten the bang for our buck with that. And so it's a different company that's very well thought of in that economic development community, and so it's going to be changing considerably. That's the first thing that companies look at when they're looking to come to an area. They don't just hop on a plane and come to your community and see what you got. The first thing they see is that site, and that's the first thing that can get you kicked out of, any potential job or industry coming to your area. If you don't have a good website, you're toast. So we're going to put some monies into that to really make that go and get us noticed, get us on the map. So that was a really good thing. The library board, we were presented with plans, and it's more stuff from the architect group for a new library. So those plans are forthcoming, and looks really like it'd be a great project once they start doing some fundraising. The Chamber of Commerce event recently was really well attended and recognized some terrific communities. The bestness of the year this year was Kohlhoff Pharmacy. They were recognized, and then the volunteer of the year was Calvin Popberg. Calvin's done so many things for this community on so many different organizations over the years. He is one of those guys that just never quits and gives a lot back to the community, so we salute them for their effort. I'm working on some plans with a landscape company to renovate the Chestnut Roundabout. We've had some things there that haven't gone well. We finally got the sprinkler system squared away out there, but things are going to be changing out there. We're getting some monies together to make some major changes out there and have it be a really attractive gateway to our community. So we'll be presenting those here pretty soon. I read an article recently after our last commission meeting put out by the Daily Union that I thought was not very well balanced regarding the discussion we had regarding trash service. The article that was presented was very one-sided, based on one member of the community. And that gentleman that came up here that had concerns about it, once we explained the how, what, when, where, and why of why we were doing what we were doing, he understood that, and he was fine with it. But you certainly didn't get that from the article. The article had said nothing about why the city was doing what they were doing at all. It was all about the complaint that one person had. And I was very disappointed by that. If we're going to have a newspaper that is our paper for the community, it needs to be balanced. And I thought that was really poor. I mean, it's bad enough that it's more or less a Manhattan paper, which bugs me. But when they present articles like that, which I haven't seen around here in a long time, when it's so unbalanced, I was very disappointed. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox. Mr. Dinkle.
Oh, Eric retired?
No,
I thought maybe
that's that guy right there.
One out, yeah, okay. Did receive a call yesterday morning from former city clerk Tyler Ficken. Tyler left here to become city clerk in Fremont, Nebraska. And kudos, or just prayers and best wishes to the people of Nebraska. Yesterday morning, you could not get in or out of Fremont unless you flew in. And it's that bad. He, of course, knew that I had a little bit of disaster background working with FEMA, so he just wanted to start getting ideas from me. He's doing well, but like I said, this whole thing's been tough on the whole community up there. And I think I think everybody here reaches out to the Nebraska people, and me being an ag boy, the ag losses are going to be substantial from the calves that are being lost, and I don't know how you're going to plant a corn crop this spring in another 6 weeks. It's going to be tough. So just something we reach out for, work with other communities. Last meeting, tonight we had the 3 houses that are going to head towards bid to be demolished. Unsafe for condemned structures. I'm pushing it. We start doing that because we got clean this community up. One thing I want to remind people is that when to tear down, we sent a bill to the property owner. In the case, as Chief Johnson said tonight, some of the property owners didn't even sign their letters, but we sent them to them and made all the requirements. And so the house gets torn down. We send a bill to the property owner. If they don't pay it, and most times they don't, it goes on their taxes. What happens is, the way we're set up here, the county clerk only wants to receive tax liens from our city clerk once a year. So in the last one, actually not going to probably go that far because a person wants to purchase that lot, and we haven't even billed it yet. So my word out to anybody that's buying lots where a house was torn down, always check with either Tammy, the city clerk, or Sarah downstairs to find if the city has any outstanding liens. This has been discussed before, and I know when Ms. Slogan was our city attorney, she has state statute that says, no, it happened. When they're at tax sale, they was told that everything goes away. Well, what has been assessed goes away. What has not does not go away. So my advice out to anybody is if you're buying property that was condemned structures, and we want you to clear up the property, always check with the city to make sure there's nothing out there that surprises you later, and then we have to have this battle in my office. And because they're quite upset when they get that, and they say it shouldn't, but it's just an issue that if you're buying property where that you knew it had a house tore down or possibly some weeds, it's just check, and it'll save everybody a lot of heartache. If you haven't been across the street, we had Ed had it in his 5:15 report last week. Gym floor looks stellar. It just looks good. I mean, we feel good about it. I had to laugh. We had Blow-Bill today, and Ed's staff, they're so proud of the floor. They had pads for everything out there because they want to make it look good. It's just really good. Street work, hopefully we get started on that. Everybody thinks that we haven't done anything. We had somebody actually file a insurance complaint because they had a tire issue on one of our streets. And I drove down the same street and I didn't see the problems. But we put over 7 tons of material on Grand Avenue this winter and labor. It just didn't come out. It was one of those winters. I don't know if we're any worse than anybody else. You have those things. But Ray's crew has done a super job of trying to minimize the can. Higher temperatures and a little more dry really helps a lot to get the work done. And I know his crew will do a rock star job moving forward with that. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Stites?
Mr. Mayor and Commission, before we talked about with the update from IT with the whole optics issue, the fiber, and then whether or not asset forfeiture can be utilized with that. And so we need to be careful with that. If the money is already budgeted for it, and then you try to use asset forfeiture for it, that's what the feds call supplanting. Basically, remodifying the budget after the fact, and you can't do that. And it's even covered within our state statute, which the statute year by year is getting more and more close to what the same requirements as the feds do for an asset forfeiture. Now, if the money's not already budgeted there, which I spoke with Ms. Miller, and it sounds like where it is the money's not necessarily budgeted for that purpose, and the full amount isn't budgeted there, or is it?
The full amount? No, it'll be spread out over, I don't know how many years, but multiple years.
So when we look at that and the full amount not being budgeted for that purpose, it may be allowable to be able to use asset forfeiture for the aspect that meets law enforcement needs, because there's a statute here, and I've got it in front of me, because I don't want to, when it comes to asset forfeiture, I don't want to say the wrong thing. But we have monies in a special law enforcement trust fund shall not be considered a source of revenue to meet normal operating expenses. And this, well, I see this as more of a capital expense as opposed to a normal operating expense. Such funds shall be expended by the agencies or departments through the normal city appropriation system and shall be used for such special additional law enforcement as specified in subsection E2 as the law enforcement agency head deems appropriate, the chief of police. And then you can't use forfeitures to plan. But if you look in E2, before it used to just say for law enforcement purposes. Now they've gone through and done a whole list of basically these are the things that you can use it for. So when you get to E2, big C through big E deals with the costs associated with the purchase, lease, construction, expansion, improvement, or operation of law enforcement or detention facilities used or managed by the recipient agency. D is the costs associated with law enforcement equipment for use by law enforcement personnel. And then E is the costs associated with the purchase of multi-use equipment and operations used by both law enforcement and non-law enforcement personnel. So I think that the fiber could probably be most under C or D, but also D, C or E, as well as D there possibly, something that goes there. So if the money's not budgeted, it's not a part of a normal operating expense, it can be utilized by that as long as it's not already budgeted in the budget, and we're trying to supplant the budget. I'm not trying to give you a muddied answer there, but from my understanding of where the budget is at this point, it should be okay so long as we go through normal appropriations and the chief of police deems to utilize that money, given how the statute is.
Because it's capital equipment and we didn't really plan on it, you know,
Yeah.
budget last year, so,
And I want to take my time with it, because the last thing I want is for us to
Understood.
get
I totally
targeted by
agree.
the KBI and AG's
go the right
office.
way and get everybody's blessing, and so,
Nothing else.
thank
Be
you.
an example.
Ms. Miller?
No.
The only thing I have is April 16th at 3 o'clock. We're going to have that meeting with the downtown group, and anybody in the community is welcome to join us. We're going to have a special presenter from Columbia Capital, and they're just going to go over some options for us and try to come up with a plan for us to help revitalize our downtown.
Great, thank you. Ms. Melton?
Nothing.
Chief Breezy? Chief Johnson?
Nothing this evening.
Mr. Ibarra? Mr. Barnado? Mr. Peterson? Mr. Lazare? Mr. Gruen?
Nothing, sir, except thank you for presenting to the students earlier.
It's always a pleasure.
Make a
Commissioner
motion
Fitzgerald
to-
did a nice job, so, is there a motion?
I make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you and good night.